Hey y'all, I made a post about wondering how people are coping in the wake of last night's debate and just in the wake of what has been a typhoon since forever, maybe, and it's just building speed. So I get off track. Um, Today I was just thinking, shit, I can't cope by just continuously eating and numbing out on Netflix. Like, I need to find my inner strategy. And so I set a block of time to sit and be with my sensations and my emotions and put my timer on. And when it went off, I thought, great, now what? Now it's self-care. And self-care is essential. It's imperative. I think it's really easy to just be overwhelmed. I know for myself to be overwhelmed by all the different feelings and emotions and to just kind of like collapse or crumble under those. But we are being called to rise, to unite, to stand strong, to not be silent, to interlock arms with the most vulnerable, with ourselves, and leverage all of our platforms to create a change that needs to be changed. We need inertia and momentum and movement, and none of that has time to dwell in unhealthy coping mechanisms. Give it space, but give it a time limit. And so for me, as I was thinking, like, what's my healthy coping mechanisms? For me, it's gardening, it's kitchen. And so I processed some tomatoes today, and I'm just going to talk about what I did in the process a little bit in case you're curious. And we'll see. We're probably going to get a lot of these videos, honestly, just because this is my outlet, right? What can I do? And I hope that I can do more, right? So I'm going to flip you around. I started out with these small tomatoes. They're really small, but I'm working with what I have, and I think we all should work with what we have. It's easy to think, oh, I wish I had something else. No, just work with what you have, the tools you have, and the fruit that you have. So I had these small tomatoes, what was left in the garden after the deer had their way. And at the bottom of each one of them, you can see I did about a third. So this is the second third, and I have another amount stored somewhere else. So each of these I cut an X into the bottom of the tomato because I want to remove the skins. So you can kind of see these aren't great examples because these were either split or are overripe, and I'm going to just eat them. If some of them had mold in them, and I'll cut out the mold and eat them. So just kind of following like zero waste guidelines. And a lot of energy goes into these fruits, so just trying to get as much as we can from them, and a lot of hard work went into this. So I cut an X at the bottom of each of these tomatoes. And I'm all finished now, but I'll talk about it. I filled up this pot with water, and it started to boil. And when it was boiling, I dumped all of my whole tomatoes with X's on the bottom into the boiling water, and they sat for 30 to, you could go 60 seconds maybe, and then I dumped them. I had a bowl here filled with ice water. I dumped them into that ice water. From there, I started to peel the skins off of every single one of them, and in the context of this being a coping mechanism, it was great. It took a lot of time. So each of the skins, took them all off, put them in a bowl. These have been rinsed to try to get the rest of the seed off, and then wrung so that I can get most of the moisture out. So this is what we're left with, the skins. So I took the tomato out of the ice cold bath, took the skins off, and then took the seeds, and I put the seeds into this jar, which will now ferment, and we'll maybe have a video about decanting them later. This tomato patch was only one variety, so we don't need to go into cross-pollination issues. So then what you're left after taking the seed off, or skin off, and dumping the seed is the meat of the fruit, of the tomato, really of the ovary of this plant. And the reason why I only did it 1/3 at a time is because I've never processed this size of tomato in this way for this reason. So I don't want to waste, if it goes poorly, I don't want to waste all of my tomatoes, and I want to learn with each process, and I'm going to need plenty of opportunities to have an outlet. So This is what we're left with. I'm concerned about how this place where the stem was on both sides, how that's going to dry in the solar dehydrator and how it's going to come across when we eat it. So that's a big motivation for me, waiting to see how these work. Also, I started off by cutting them in half and then gave that up very quickly because they were so small. And instead, you can see the X kind of makes them in this flower shape. Took the skin off, put the seed in, and in the process of taking the seed out, they turned into this shape, and this is how the majority of them are. They are different sizes, which you'll read in books and websites, all sorts of different things, but until you do it yourself, it's always going to be different based on the tomato variety, the ripeness, and all the other factors that go into it. So your own experience is the most valuable, and it stores better in your memory as well. And so these will go into the solar dehydrator, and I'll try to flip them every day. I'm not putting any oil or salt in them. You can be careful if you use fresh herbs versus dried herbs, and just remember that one of the concerns is mold, and I would recommend dry herbs over fresh herbs. Light salt maybe. This first batch I'm just going to do them plain. And then these I will also put in the dehydrator, and once they're dry, I will powderize them and then store them as a powder. All right, y'all, take care of yourselves. I'll see you next time.